It's 6:42 on a Tuesday morning, and you're sitting in a 2009 Toyota Corolla in the parking garage under your office. Engine still ticking, one hubcap missing since a pothole took it 2 winters ago. You've meant to replace it. You haven't. Through the windshield, you watch a coworker climb out of a brand new Jeep Grand Cherokee, the kind with the paint that still smells like the dealership. That's Marcus from finance. He'll spend the next 20 minutes in the break room talking about the lease. Your car is worth about $2,400. Your investment accounts are worth $742,000. Nobody here knows that. Not your supervisor, not Marcus, not the security guard who waves at your Corolla every morning like it's a running joke between the two of you. You're not keeping it secret on purpose. It just never comes up. Nobody asks a coworker what their net worth is over coffee, and if they did, you're honestly not sure you'd tell them. Here's the part no one prepares you for about building wealth slowly. It doesn't feel triumphant. Most mornings, it doesn't feel like anything. You grab your badge, lock the car. The alarm doesn't beep, it just clicks. And walk into a building where you work a job you technically don't need anymore for people who have no idea that's true. This is the story of how that happened, and it starts 11 years earlier in a one-bedroom apartment with $340 in a checking account and absolutely no plan. You're 22. Rent is $690 a month. You work at a distribution warehouse for $15.75 an hour. And the shifts rotate enough that some weeks you're exhausted and some weeks you're just broke. $15.75 an hour sounds fine until you actually live inside it. A 40-hour week after taxes is closer to $520. Rent takes $690, which means most months you're covering the gap with whatever overtime you can grab, or by not eating out even once. Groceries become a Tuesday night ritual where you do math in the aisle. Generic pasta instead of the brand you grew up on. Meat only twice a week. One week, the car needs a new serpentine belt. $95. In the abstract, that's nothing. In your actual checking account, it's the difference between paying rent on time and paying it 3 days late with a fee attached. You put it on the one credit card you have, telling yourself you'll pay it off next check. You do, eventually. But it takes 2 paychecks instead of 1, and that gap teaches you something you don't have language for yet. That being broke isn't about how much you earn, it's about how little space exists between what comes in and what's already spoken for. Your car, the same Corolla, 4 years old, 82,000 miles, cost you $5,400 in cash, money you scraped together bartending on weekends the year before. There's a woman on your shift named Dolores. She's worked there almost 18 years. Doesn't say much, eats the same egg salad sandwich at the same break table every single day. One afternoon, while you're both waiting on a delayed shipment, she says something so plain you almost miss it. Set it aside before you ever see it, she says. Not after payday. That's the whole conversation. She goes back to her sandwich. You don't think about it again for almost 4 months. Then someone in HR mentions the company's 401k match, 50 cents on the dollar up to 3%. Something about that phrase, free money, finally clicks. You log in from your phone during lunch and set it to 3%. It works out to about $19 a paycheck. You barely feel it disappear. Turns out that's the entire trick, even though you don't understand it yet. A few months later, you open a separate brokerage account and set up an automatic transfer, $40 a month into an index fund you picked because it was the first result when you searched, how do beginners start investing? $40 a month is nothing. You know that. It's a couple of takeout orders. But it's also the first time money has ever left your account without you having to consciously decide to let it go. Every single time. Then your car needs new brakes. $290. you don't have it just sitting around. And for 2 days, you seriously consider pulling that $40 back out of the brokerage account to cover it. You don't. You put it on a credit card instead and spend 2 months paying it off, irritated at yourself the whole way through. That tug of war, the automatic transfer versus whatever emergency is currently yelling for your attention, becomes the entire shape of the next several years. It's around this time you start understanding something nobody explains clearly when you're 22. Investing and having cash on hand are not the same job. The brokerage account is for later. It's not supposed to flinch every time something breaks. So after the credit card from the root canal, the same slow, annoying kind of debt as the breaks, you start keeping a second pile of money, separate from both accounts. Nothing dramatic. You round up a grocery order here, skip a takeout order there, and let $25 or $30 land in a savings account with a name like Don't Touch. It grows slowly, but the next time something breaks, you notice you're reaching for that account first instead of a card, and the difference in how that feels is bigger than the dollar amount would suggest. 2 years go by, then 3. Nothing dramatic happens. That's not a complaint, that's just accurate. You get a raise to $18 an hour, and instead of upgrading your apartment or your car, you bump the automatic transfer to $130 a month. Not because you're some disciplined savings guru, you just never rearranged your spending to absorb the raise in the first place. The extra money had nowhere else to go. A guy named Tyler starts around the same time you did. Tyler isn't reckless. He's not doing anything obviously wrong. He gets promoted to shift lead a year before you do, and that same month, he drives off the lot in a Ford F-150. $580 a month?
He earned it. He worked hard for it. You don't judge him. Though you do notice that his truck payment is almost exactly what you pay in rent. If someone watched the two of you in that parking lot on any random afternoon, they'd have no way of guessing which one of you was quietly building something and which one was spending it as fast as it came in. That's the hardest part to explain later. It never looked like a competition. It just felt like $130 leaving an account you'd mostly stopped checking. You finally pay off a $1,600 credit card balance left over from a rough month involving an emergency root canal. You don't celebrate. You just notice one day that the balance says 0 and stays there. By 24, your combined accounts cross $9,800. You only know because you check on a boring Sunday afternoon with nothing else to do. You don't tell anyone. There's nothing to tell yet. It's a number on a screen next to your email and your to-do list. At 25, another raise lands. $20.50 an hour, plus a small bonus structure. You've moved off the warehouse floor by now, into an inventory scheduling role. Still hourly, but steadier. No more rotating shifts, no more guessing which week you'll be exhausted. The contribution goes to $260 a month automatically, the same night the raise hits, before the extra money has a chance to feel like spending money. A coworker named Anna buys a townhouse that year. 2 bedrooms, a little patio, granite countertops she posts constantly. By every visible measure, she looks like she's doing better than you. New car in her driveway, designer bag, a trip to Tulum that shows up on everyone's feed. What you don't know, and won't know for years, is that her mortgage is $2,100 a month against a salary close to yours. The car is leased, and the Tulum trip is still sitting on a credit card. None of that is a judgment. It's just a different set of choices, made with the same information you had. Meanwhile, the Corolla hits 138,000 miles. That's the spring the hubcap disappears in the pothole. You mean to replace it. You keep meaning to. An old friend, Priya, calls to catch up that summer. She asks what's new. Same job, same apartment, Nothing exciting, you tell her. It genuinely does not occur to you to mention the accounts, because from your side of it, there's nothing dramatic to report. From the outside, those 3 years look like absolutely nothing happened. From the inside, $130 became $260, became $8,700. Quietly, the way water rises in a glass without you ever seeing the exact drop that tips it over. At 27, the combined accounts cross $48,000. This is the first number that actually stops you cold. You're on your couch on a Sunday, staring at the screen for a full minute before you close the app. $48,000 feels different than $9,800 ever did. It's a down payment. It's most of a year's rent. It's the kind of number that starts a new conversation in your head about what any of this is actually for. 2 months later, the market drops 21% in about 7 weeks. Your $48,000 becomes $37,900 without you doing a single thing. You watch it happen in real time, refreshing the app more than you'd admit out loud. Watching a number you spent 5 years building shrink by $10,000 in a matter of days.
There's a night that week you lie awake doing the math backward. How many months of $260 contributions it took to build what the market just erased in an afternoon. It feels less like an investment losing value and more like something being taken from you. For the first time since Dolores said her one sentence in the break room, discipline stops being a nice idea and becomes something you actually have to do. The automatic transfer is still scheduled for the 1st. You seriously consider pausing it. Everything is red. It feels like setting $260 on fire for no reason at all. You don't pause it. You're honestly not sure, looking back, whether that was wisdom or just inertia. The transfer had become so automatic that stopping it would have required an actual decision, and you'd built a life that avoided extra decisions about money. Either way, the $260 goes in on the 1st, buying more shares for less than they cost a month earlier, though you don't fully appreciate that until years later. And you're careful never to tell anyone this is somehow guaranteed to work out. It doesn't always. This time, it does. The market recovers over the following year, slowly and unevenly, the way it actually happens rather than the way it looks in hindsight. Your accounts cross $48,000 again, then keep climbing.
That same year brings a real test. Not a crash this time, a choice. Tyler's truck needs a new transmission. Around the same time, your Corolla starts making a noise on cold mornings that a mechanic eventually diagnoses as a failing wheel bearing. $360 to fix. Nothing urgent, nothing that requires a new car. But you look at a dealership website that night anyway, half as a joke. A newer Corolla. $310 a month for 5 years. You do the math without meaning to. $310 a month is more than your current investment contribution. You sit with that number for a long time. You don't buy the car. You fix the bearing instead. But something shifts that night. Not toward being cheap exactly, but toward understanding that every dollar already has a job, and it's a job you don't want to interrupt. By 30, the combined accounts sit at $184,000. Contributions are up to $600 a month after 2 more raises and a promotion into operations coordinator, a salaried role now, with a small team under you and actual scheduling authority instead of just following someone else's schedule. Better pay, steadier hours. Same Corolla in the parking garage. Something starts happening this year that you don't notice right away because it doesn't announce itself. You check the account one Sunday and it's grown $1,900 from the month before. You only contributed $600 of that. The other $1,300 came from nowhere you personally did anything for. Next month, it happens again, a different amount.
Some months the market gives more than you put in. Some months it takes some back. But averaged out, the growth from money already invested starts pulling nearly even with the growth from money you're actively adding. Your paycheck and your portfolio, for the first time, working at close to the same weight. Nobody warns you this moment is coming, so you almost miss it. It's not a bell going off. It's a quiet handoff. The money starting to do more of the work than you are. That winter, your water heater dies. $980, emergency replacement. Exactly the kind of bill that would have gone straight on a credit card 5 years earlier, with real dread attached. This time, you just pay it from the Don't Touch account, the one you built almost by accident after the root canal, without checking your other balances first. It doesn't even occur to you to check. That's new. The emergency fund did its job so quietly, you almost forget it exists, right up until the moment you need it, and it's simply there. Tyler's still paying $580 a month on a truck, 7 years in now, because he refinanced into a new one right as the old one got paid off. He's not unhappy. He loves that truck. You don't judge him for it. He earns more than you do on paper, and he can afford the choice he's making. It's just a different choice than the one quietly compounding in your account.
Anna sells the townhouse that year for a modest profit after fees and moves into a rental, citing the market. You don't ask questions. You genuinely don't know how her numbers worked out, and it's not your business. The Corolla passes 182,000 miles. You finally look up what it had cost to fix the missing hubcap and the growing dent from a shopping cart in a grocery store lot, about $340 combined, and decide, again, it's not worth the hassle. This stopped being about money a while ago. It's just habit now, the way some people always take the stairs or always keep the receipt. That fall, a coworker gets laid off without warning and asks, half joking, how you'd handle it if it happened to you. You do the math silently before answering. The emergency fund, the taxable account you could draw from without touching retirement, the fact that 6 months without a paycheck would be uncomfortable, not dangerous. I'd be fine, you tell her, and you're surprised by how much you mean it. It's the first time you realize what you've built isn't just a number. It's a kind of resilience most people around you don't have, and you didn't get here from some extraordinary salary. You got here by never letting an ordinary one slip through your hands. At 32, a senior manager role opens up. It means a $13,000 raise, weekend availability, more visibility, the kind of opportunity you would have chased hard 5 years earlier.
You turn it down, not because you couldn't handle it, but because the question itself has changed. 5 years ago, the question would have been, can I afford to say no to this? Now it's, what is this actually worth to me, measured against the hours it will cost? The real dollar increase, weighed against roughly 65 extra hours a month you'd never get back, doesn't move anything that matters anymore. Your combined accounts are around $375,000 by then. The math has shifted far enough that an extra $13,000 a year buys less freedom than those 65 hours would cost you. It's the first purely financial decision in this whole story that has nothing to do with saving money. It's about refusing to trade time for a number that no longer needs you. That spring, your dad's truck dies. A blown engine, not worth fixing, 19 years old. You send him $3,800 for a reliable used one, without a spreadsheet, without asking if you can afford it, because you already know you can. He tries to argue. You tell him it's done. It's the easiest $3,800 decision you've ever made. An old acquaintance named Colton reaches out about a guaranteed crypto arbitrage opportunity. A $12,000 buy-in with returns that don't survive basic math. You run the numbers twice and pass. 5 years earlier, the promise alone might have hooked you. Now you can see the shape of it fast enough to walk away without agonizing over it.
You still drive the Corolla. People at work have started gently asking when you're finally going to replace it. You tell them you're thinking about it. You've been thinking about it for 6 years. The truth is, that car stopped saying anything true about you a long time ago. Not when it represented being broke, and not now, when it represents something closer to indifference. That's the freedom nobody posts pictures of. It's not the new kitchen or the vacation. It's not needing the parking lot to be impressed. At 34, your accounts cross $600,000. On paper, you're what most people mean when they say wealthy. Nobody in your life would guess it, which was sort of the point. Quiet accumulation, no announcement. But that plan costs you something you didn't expect. There's a strange split that opens up around this number. You look exactly the same. You still hesitate slightly at a restaurant before ordering the thing that costs $2 more, but underneath it, something fundamental has changed. You could quit tomorrow and not touch your savings for over a decade. You could cover a real emergency without blinking. You could say no to a demand, an unreasonable boss, in a way most people around you can't, and nobody watching you
Order the cheaper appetizer would ever guess it. Tyler asks you one night over beers, half joking, if you're ever going to make it the way he has. Meaning the truck, the house, the vacations. You laugh it off and don't correct him. Driving home afterward in the Corolla, you feel something you don't have a clean name for. Not superiority, not regret, something closer to distance. The sense that you've lived in the same town as Tyler for 11 years and somehow ended up somewhere that can't be measured on the same scale, and neither of you can quite say that out loud. Your mom asks, gently, if you're doing okay financially. She's seen the Corolla, the missing hubcap, and she worries the way moms do. You tell her you're fine. You don't tell her the number because the number would change how she talks to you, how family gatherings feel, how she asks you for things. You watched it happen to a cousin who inherited money and became overnight the rich one, a label that flattened everything else about who he was. You're not ready to become a role.
There's a specific kind of loneliness in this nobody warns you about. You built something real entirely on your own. Over 11 years of automatic transfers and unremarkable Tuesdays, and there's almost no one you can tell without changing the relationship in the telling. Money has a way of rewriting how people see you the moment they know the number, and you've grown attached to being seen as just you. You start seeing someone around this time. Jordan, a physical therapist who drives a 9-year-old Civic with 170,000 miles of her own. The first time she's in your apartment, she notices a brokerage statement on the counter and just glances at it and moves on, the way you'd glance at someone's bookshelf. What you notice more over the following weeks is that she never once brings up your car, your apartment, or what you make. She talks about her patients, about a hiking trail she found 20 minutes out of the city, about a soup recipe from her grandmother. She's the first person in years who seems interested in your actual Tuesday, not the version of your life that would look good from a distance. A few weeks in, almost offhand, she mentions she's been meaning to open an investment account, but never got around to it. You don't lecture her. You think about Dolores and the egg salad sandwich, and the one sentence that took years to actually matter. You just say, start with whatever you won't miss. Set it aside before you see it, not after. She laughs, not because it's funny, but because it's such a small sentence to carry something so big. The money doesn't change how you see yourself, not dramatically. What it changes is quieter and stranger. The awareness that the version of you everyone sees, the Corolla, the shift work turned salary job, the person who's thinking about a new car, is real but incomplete. You're not performing poverty. You're just not performing anything. And it turns out most people build their idea of you entirely from what you show them. so the version they know will always be smaller than the version that actually exists. It's 6:42 on a Tuesday morning again. A different Tuesday. Years later. You're sitting in the same Corolla, outside the same garage.
Marcus's Jeep is long gone, traded in twice since. Tyler's truck is parked 3 spots down. Payment number, who knows, still going. He mentioned it last week. Not complaining, just stating it, the way you'd mention the weather. Your account this morning reads $742,000. You could fix the hubcap. You could buy a completely different car, something that would finally match the number instead of contradicting it. You've thought about it more seriously this year than any before. You don't do it today. Some habits outlive the reason they started for and just become a preference for a car that starts every morning and asks nothing of you. Dolores retired last year. You never told her what her one sentence turned into. You don't need some dramatic scene where you track her down and say something rehearsed. You just think about it sometimes, quietly. A woman eating an egg salad sandwich, saying 11 words she probably doesn't remember saying, that turned into 11 years, that turned into a number too large to explain in a parking garage. You grab your badge. You lock the car. It still clicks instead of beeping. And you walk into a building that has absolutely no idea what it's looking at. That's the real ending to getting rich quietly. There's no reveal. Nobody gasps. It's just you, still early for a shift, still driving a car worth less than a decent couch, carrying a number that changed everything, except how this morning looks from the outside. The wealth is real. The freedom is real.